What are you hoping that they're going to get or understand about the process?
Yeah, I think for in my own personal life, me opening up to someone has always been on the condition that I don't feel judged. So I think I just try to emulate that in therapy, just to make sure that we have a space where people can be totally honest with everything that they're struggling with. So I think that's probably one of my core facets of just therapy is can you share openly with me? Because, if we're not really comfortable sharing with whoever we're with, if we don't feel safe, if we don't feel comfortable, it's going to really impact and limit the work that we can do. So I think that's probably the main thing.
Yeah, so you want them to feel safe, not judged, that they can open up.
And I'll say a little bit more, I think
Yeah.
especially because I kind of specialize with people who have anxiety and addiction, let's say. So, especially working with men with pornography addiction and whatnot, shame and wanting to not share is a very common experience. So, in my own experience, just being able to share comfortably with someone and talk about the frequency of how often I've, addicted. We even can lie about how often where, it's not that bad or we share half truths. And so, being able to share the full truth without denial is one of the key steps to healing. It's just, can you feel comfortable saying, you know what, I actually do this every day. Like this is something I do every single day. We kind of don't even go that far most of the time. We'll usually say, I struggle with it and every now and then we kind of downplay it a bit. But yeah, just being really comfortable with someone that you can be like, hey, this is like where I'm at.
Yeah. And I kind of forget that too, even just as a therapist, that people are telling us pretty intimate, difficult details all the time, every day. Sometimes it's almost easy to remember how difficult that is, especially if it's the first time coming to therapy or the first time looking at a problem, that it can be really difficult to just say those words. And so having that trust and that safety and that support to be honest and fully transparent. And that's what makes or breaks the therapy, right? Sometimes people go to therapy and they're not honest and transparent and they're not kind of doing their own work in the process. And they're like, I didn't get anything out of it. It's like, well, that's probably a big part of it. Right. So that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And even, you know, at least in my ex own experience, right? A lot of this I'm drawing from my own experience. If I like my therapist, I maybe even place them on a pedestal, not too great of a pedestal, let's say, but I respect them, I honor them. I am embarrassed sometimes to tell them essentially everywhere I'm falling short on my addictions, on my struggles. And so that's also a hindrance to therapy, right? Let's say someone likes working with you, Adam, and they're like, I want Adam to think of me well. I want him to think that I'm healing. I want him to think that the work we're doing is good. I might not fully tell him that, you know what, I'm actually still struggling with the same thing, or I'm not really getting better. And it's not because what you're telling me isn't helpful. It's just because maybe a part of me feels broken fundamentally, and I'm kind of in the same cycle. And that's really shame that prevents us from going there. But I think, yeah, just having a really honest, open channel of communication is definitely the bedrock.
When someone comes to therapy with you, maybe it's someone who's never been to therapy before. How do you kind of explain what therapy is? Like, what is this process going to look like? Like, what's that foundation for you?
Yeah, so I guess I'll use technical therapy terms just so people could look it up on their own. They could chat GPT it, they could figure it out. I would say my primary models are like somatic or polyvagal IFS. So any series of those words, if you look it up, you could probably find out more information.
Yeah, very,
But
very technical, but yeah.
yeah, for some of those people that really want to know what that means, I guess simply put, the type of therapy that I do is body focused, especially in with addictions and with anxiety. We're often afraid of the sensations that we have in our body, which is essentially a trauma response. Our body's very intelligent, it's very smart.